Hey everybody, it's Joe. I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Saab Doctor. In today's episode, we are replacing the rear differential in my 2011 9.4X. Stay tuned. So let me give you the backstory. About 2 years ago, and I know this is about to sound like I've neglected this, however the 9.4 has been sitting quite a bit. 2 years ago, I started getting a service rear axle message, and that was about a year after I had already serviced the axle. So what I did was, I scanned codes, serviced the rear diff, replaced the pump after servicing it didn't fix it, serviced it again, and nothing fixed it. Now when the car's jacked up, all four wheels do spin, but once all four wheels are on the ground, something makes it so the rear wheels don't spin. I was talking with a few people, probably some type of an internal differential issue. So I have one brand new differential for it, and that's what we're going to be installing today. So unfortunately, I have misplaced my GoPro. I'll have to put the big camcorder on a little stand and move it around and whatnot, so the shots might not be that great, but I'm going to give it a shot. And let's just go through what I grabbed for this thing. So what I have here is one brand new differential that I got from Saab parts. Now this would be the same as an SRX differential. You can get a used one. I will link above and below how to get a used differential. And one bolt kit. Now the bolts, I had Matt look these up. These are the same as 9.3 and 9.5. 9.3 and NG9.5. So here's the part number on that. I have fluids. Now the nice part about getting a brand new diff, this is already ready with the filter and everything in it. Brand new axle seals and everything. I just pop these off, put it in, and we go. And the next thing I grabbed were tools that I'm thinking I'm going to need. Of course, I'm going to need more than this, I'm sure. And looking at the looking at the flange on this, I thought this might have a similar flange to what the oh, it does. It does. It just has a dampener on the outside, so that might make it a little bit harder. So, never mind. So, I've got the air chisel here to make sure to get that that drive shaft off easier, and all the standard tools, including the Ugga Dugga machine, axle tool, axle nut stuff, and this, which this is actually for the for removing the drive shaft, because it's hard to get in there. Now the thing you have to remember is you need to jack up all four wheels on the 9.4 and your 9.3 and your NG9.5 to be able to turn the drive shaft, because it's connected to the transmission. It won't turn if the front wheels are on the ground. I learned that last time. So let's get this in the air and get rolling. Alright, the 9.4 is in the air now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drain the differential fluid. That way, when I pull the axles out, I don't have diff fluid everywhere. So let's start with that. Alright, and just like in the differential service video, I'm going to crack this one first, and then crack the drain. However, since this is not the GoPro, and it's not in a skeleton of some form, I'm going to set the camera way back here and tilt up. Okay, there we go. Alright, and this one's being a little bit more difficult than I expected. So, I think that got it. Nope, did not. Huh. Oh yeah, it did, okay. Had to pull out the big guns for this. Alright, we'll let that drain for a few minutes. Alright, now while that's draining, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove the driver's side wheel, the rear wheel, and I'm going to loosen up the axle nut. So my plan this time, unlike the NG9.5, is to only remove one of the sides. I don't want to have to remove both axles. I was talking with my buddy Brad. He's a GM tech. He said he just did an SRX differential in about well, 30 minutes to remove. So I'm not going to try and race him because he has a lift and tools and GM tech skills and all that shit, and I'm, you know, on the floor and whatnot. So I'm just going to get that wheel off and just pull one axle this time. So let's do that while that differential fluid is draining. Alright, so probably a little hard to hear since the air compressor is going and whatnot, but the axle nut is a 1 1/4. Alright, I'm just going to take this and with the chisel tip on the air hammer just give this a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a break free, just to make sure that this axle will slide out pretty easy when the time comes. Oh yeah, now that's loose. So then, just like on the NG95, I'm going to undo this knuckle so I can get the axle out. Make sure if you're doing projects like this, get something to put all your nuts and bolts in, like I just did. I just threw everything in here so that way I didn't lose it. And keep it organized in a way that you'll understand. This is exactly what I was hoping to happen. That drops down, then I should be able to flex this forward. May have to remove what connects this link arm though as well. Oh, I'm not smart. There's another end on that. I was wondering why it seemed to be coming apart so easy. There we go. That seems a lot more accurate for what I was expecting. Alright, so the bottom nut that I'm undoing is actually the ball joint. I'm hoping that that'll give me just enough flex to be able to pull this off here. Just everything is loosening up pretty well. I just need to be able to slip this axle in and out of here. Alright, so that lower ball joint has me a little bit annoyed right now because it won't come loose. So I've pulled out one of these. I don't know if this is actually for ball joints or not, but I'm going to be able to slip this into that knuckle and then tighten this down, and I should be able to separate it, so hopefully this works. I'm not going to bring the camera under there. Well, you know, I'm going to bring the camera under there. We'll do that. If this even fits, it won't fit. No, not going to do it. Alright, back to the drawing board on that. Alright, we'll just try the hammer again. Alright, that was really loud, so I've applied hearing protection. Okay, it's definitely getting closer, it seems. Or maybe I'm just delusional. This does not seem to actually be coming down at all. Alright, well I hate doing this to a good ball joint because it normally tears the boot. don't even fit. I think I just had an aha moment. I'm going to try undoing the sway bar end link, and then I should be able to actually pry this entire control arm down instead of just trying to move this knuckle out of the way. So I've got movement out of the knuckle, but then with the leverage down, I should be able to get that out, I think. All right, it is more than a few days later, and I kind of reassessed the situation, and I think I've got an idea that involves the pry bar. So let's see if we can get that hub moved forward enough so I can get that axle out. Because once the axle's out, we drop the front drive shaft, we drop the differential, remove a few other things in the middle, and then can put the new one in, which isn't even that bad. So let's see if this works. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this adjuster still has the bolt in it. I'm going to try and gently pry this out, hopefully without bending it or breaking anything. So then this hub should be able to flop down. I don't think there's supposed to be this much play in this, though. Which is where my problem is coming in. Alright, now unfortunately because I don't have the GoPro, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have to do a few things off camera with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up the bolts holding on the drive shaft, the prop shaft, and then I'm probably going to come back. I should be able to get, there's that box, I think it's like a light control box on the back in front of the differential bolts. Should be able to come back before that. What I think I'm going to end up doing, I think I'm going to end up lowering down the differential and trying to wiggle it out. There should be enough space that I can probably get it out without removing anything else, but I'm really not 100% sure right now. Running into some issues I didn't expect, and the 9.4 is being a little bit stubborn, so it happens. But yeah, I'm going to get those prop shaft bolts off now. It's just a handful of Torx bits. So let me do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, so it's actually about a day or two after the last time I was recording. I just got really frustrated for a minute, and you know, we all need to take a break sometimes. And it's funny because that was me getting frustrated after taking a break from getting frustrated. Anyways, all the bolts in the prop shaft are out. Prop shaft is still in because those things get rusted in pretty good. I'm going to just kind of continue on, and what I'm going to do is kind of like in the NG95 video, when it gets to the point where I lower down the diff, I'm going to find a way to get that prop shaft out of there, because they tend to like seize into the flange, and seize is the wrong word, but they can just get stuck in that flange. So I need to figure out a way to get that out. So the next thing on the list, and I'm going to be following WIS directions from here on out, because I think that was part of my downfall. Kind of tried to skip ahead, and I think I messed that up. So the next thing up is getting the parking brake module loosened up and out. And what we're going to need to do for that first is confirm that the parking brake cable is all the way out, and we'll go through the procedure in the 9.4 right now. Oh, okay, so I'm going to do this without scan tool operation, just because I feel like most people won't be, you know, using an MDI. So first off, you should do this when the car's on the ground. We're not. It says to block the wheels first, which we're not going to do. Turn the ignition switch to on, which we just did. It's not happy about that. Automatic transmission in park, which it is. So you want to apply and hold the brake pedal, and you have to keep the brake pedal held down. So next, you press and hold the brake switch for about 5 seconds, and then you wait for the brake switch, or the brake light on the cluster. Now it says to press and hold, so I'm pushing down, and it's not doing it. Okay, so apply and hold the brake pedal, and you have to keep that held down, and then press and hold the e-brake button. Well, that's not good. It's not working. Hang on. Okay, so I couldn't get that exact function to work with my 9.4. So I don't have my MDI down here either right now. Just poor planning on my part. So I'm just going to take that, lower it down. Realistically, since I'm not removing that completely, it should be fine. But the parking brake cables may need a retension, and you can actually do that by setting and releasing the parking brake a few times. There's actually a whole tutorial in WIS on that. So if you want to see that exact portion, go and look at WIS. So I'm going to lower down the parking brake module. That's the next step, and then we're going to get to removing the axle that I started to remove in the beginning. So let's go. All right, so hang on. Might be a bit close here, but all right. So this is the parking brake module right here. There are, from what it looks like, 1, 2, sorry about the lighting, 1, 2, 3 bolts in it. I should be able to just remove those bolts and then let that hang there, because as you can see, those are blocking, it's blocking the bolts that hold the differential in. That's why you need to drop it down, but we're not going to completely remove that module, just drop it out of the way. And yeah, let's get that handled. Looks like it's just 3 13mm bolts. That's just a guess, by the way. Alright, 13mm. Okay, so I am just going to let the e-brake module hang here, because now I can just move it out of the way to get a wrench in there. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use the impact in this area, which sucks, because that makes it way easier to just zip these 2 bolts out quick. But luckily I can just get a wrench in here, no problem. So let's move on to the next step in WIS, which is actually taking out the axle. So I'm going to look that over quick just to make sure I'm doing the right thing, and we'll go from there. Alright, let's play Can Anyone Spot How Joe Was an Idiot? So, last time I was working on this, I wanted to drop this control arm. So, you know, take the nut off the ball joint, go to let it down, start hammering on that, and wait a second. Oh, the end link is still in. But wait, there's more. Oh, that's a spring under tension. Yep. Nobody's going to say I was the smartest person on earth when I was working on this last time. So what I'm going to do is first loosen up the sensor here for the xenon headlight so I don't break that. That's an easy one. Just a quick, remove the nut there. Then I'm going to take, and actually before anything, I'm going to put a hydraulic jack right here, because I'm going to lift this up here. So this spring, once I take the end link off, right there, so this spring doesn't just come down, because, the sway bar and the end link are all that's holding that control arm up right now. which is actually really concerning that I did that way. So, take note, don't use this as a how-to video. This was definitely not my brightest moment. Okay, so next up, since the end link is coming out, and this is literally all that's probably holding this control arm up right now, I'm going to grab the hydraulic jack, put it under here, take a little bit of tension off that, and then zip this out. Hopefully I don't break this end link, but luckily this is just a Cadillac SRX part. So worst comes to worst, I gotta buy a pair of new ones. Alright, I've got the compressor going in the background. I've already got this. This is a 13 millimeter on the top, and it'll be a 13 mil on the bottom. And we're going to just zip that top off. I'm going to put the impact on the top because that's where all the threads are. And I don't know how that's going to come apart, but some ugga-duggas are going to tell us what it is. Sorry about all the noise in the background, by the way, with the compressor going in. I'm probably talking really loud because I'm wearing ear protection because it's really loud when the ugga-dugga machine gets going. So, let's do it. All right. That came apart actually a whole lot easier than I had expected it to. And now I should be able to just lower down the control arm. All right. And actually, I didn't even think about it, the shock is still holding it up. Alright, I'll be back in just 1 second. I need to look at this and figure out how this this corner stay or adjuster comes out, because that's part of what's holding us up right now. I have a feeling that I just removed the bolt up here, and then this will pry forward. You know, we're just going to try that. Now we're coming apart. All right. Ha-ha! All right. You know, this one, interestingly enough, that can't come out with the axle still in here. But now I'm wondering, I'll get this axle clipped back in. Alright, so the only thing I can figure out that's actually stopping this from folding far enough forward, the parking brake cable, which fortunately is released, but I didn't think I'd have to completely remove the brakes and everything to do this. So, looks like that's coming apart. For those of you that have been watching the channel for a while know that these are actually newer rear brakes, and that I had a heck of a time getting the parking brake cable right last time, so I'll just have to make sure to go through the reprogramming sequence with an MDI. Luckily it is fully slacked, so that's helping for sure. So the brake cable comes in and attaches right in here. Let me just pull this up. So the brake cable, not sure if you can see it, but it's right there. So this, I should be able to pull this off and then push that cable out through the back pretty easy. All right. That did not really afford me that much more room I thought it would. I guess it did. Might be just enough. All right, let me slide back under and see if I can get that axle out. Okay, now I finally got the axle out enough that I can say it's out because I just need to pop it up and over. This ended up being a two-handed pry bar job. The reason I stopped filming is because the camera was dying. I had to put it back on the charger. Figured you didn't want to watch me fumble around like a high school boy or girl the first time they had some fun with whoever they were having fun with. Who knows what kind of fun they were having either. I mean, they might have been playing football. I wasn't very good at football anyways. Anyways, here we go. We're just going to get this axle out. Once the axle's out, then the differential can come out. Oh, what a job. All right. There we go. All right. All right, it's out. Woo! All right, now with that out, we can start to actually just take the 4 diff bolts out. So I'm going to start with the 2 in the back. Then I'm going to put a hydraulic jack underneath it and do the 2 in front. Then the diff should drop down. All right, so next up, what we're going to do is we're going to remove 2 bolts that you can't even see, can you? One here. The other one is over here. These are the 2 in the back of the differential. Now, unlike here, let me just unplug this. Oh, nice. That makes it drop down just enough that it gives me some room. Now, unlike the NG95 and the 93, you can remove these with a impact. 94X, not so much. Oops, and I grabbed the wrong size. Well, that just goes with the type of day I'm having. All right, then should be able to just take this off with an 18. Going to need the cheater pipe to start it. Okay, cheater pipe gave me a little bit of false sense of ability over here. The one thing I'm going to note is that this 9.4 was a Midwestern car its whole life, which is why you're seeing rust everywhere. Luckily, it's not that bad, but it is very frustrating to see. Because this is all surface rust. All right, bolt number 1 is out. So let me reposition the camera. Yep, this one's going to be really hard to see. Oh, losing the camera again. Come on, you. All right, this one's going to be really hard to see. We'll say this: they definitely don't put this parking brake unit in a very good spot on these. All right, 2 back bolts are out. Now I need to support this with a jack and zip the 2 front bolts out. Then we can try and we'll pop the axle out. After we pop the axle out, I'll be able to pop that prop shaft out. So let's get it done. Okay, so one thing to remember when removing your Haldex differential is pull off the plug. I just pulled it off quick. It's just a easy squeeze and pull. Now I'm going to put the jack into place and we'll zip out those 2 bolts. Alright, she's loose. Now I need to get the prop shaft off the front. Let's go up there and figure that out. Okay, now as we learned with the NG95, don't want this cover coming off. We need to get this piece out of there. And as you can see, that's pretty well rusted in. So, I think it's air hammer time. Just set up the camera here, and let's hope my air hammer job works, because that would make it hammer time. All right, so I'm going to use the pinpoint one, which isn't a very good pin, right around the edge to try and just break it loose. Oh, it's working. All right. Oh Christ. Ha! Came apart! I mean, it falling off wasn't good, but it came apart! Woo! Awesome! Okay, let me get this differential out from underneath here. Alright, this is almost a means for celebration. The old diff is out of the 9.4, and honestly, you can tell that I replaced the pump because this is not routed right, and I don't remember why I did that way. So, yeah, next up, the new one goes in. Alright, the time has come to put the new differential in, and here it is. Just waiting to go in. One thing I am going to do quick, because it's not 100% confirmed, I believe it has a filter in it, but I wanted to double check that it had a filter. I'm going to bet it does. So, yeah, we can take it and stuff it in. Let's go. Alright, now just because I want to double check this, and it's way easier to remove this when it's on the bench than when it's in the 9.4, I'm just going to pull the cover off quick, double check that there is a filter, and then retorque the cover down. Actually, it looks like there is some type of fluid in it. So it's probably not factory filled with Haldex fluid, but I'm still going to open it up. Let me grab a pan. Oh yeah, there's definitely fluid in here. So there's probably a filter. Fortunately, I've got fresh Haldex fluid to put in here. Who knows how long this has been in here for? Well, obviously since it was made. So this fluid's about 10 years old. Oh! Wow. Okay. And this is why even on a brand new diff, you open it up and see what's going on in there. Can you see all that sludge in there just from sitting, water, whatnot? Happy I've got a spare filter. Alright, fortunately I have a new filter kit. Unfortunately I bought this for the combi, so I'm going to have to buy another one. Let's get this cleaned up. I'm just going to throw all this stuff out. I figured it would have been packed dry, but you can already tell this filter is just saturated. Looks like trash. It's really hard to see, but there's a bunch of that, that gunk in it from sitting around. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I'm going to guess this is just broken down Haldex fluid, to be honest. Maybe Haldex fluid plus something from the filter, could be? Now I'm actually going to let this kind of drip out for a few minutes because I want to get as much of that old nasty fluid out of there as possible. I'll probably hit it with brake clean again, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to hit this with brake clean again, probably grab some Q-tips and whatnot to clean it up. Honestly, this is almost probably worse than sludge. So, yep, I'm going to let that drip out and we'll go from there. Alright, and then once you get it as cleaned up as you can. Well then, alright, I guess there was a bit more left. And what you just witnessed was why I should have replaced this stupid air hose a long time ago. This came with the shop, and I just kept using it. So, yep, that was definitely a moment in time. Okay, so now that I've calmed my nerves after having that airline blowout, what we're going to do is we're going to put the new filter in, put the cover on, torque everything down, get this all ready to install, and just a PSA to everybody. Clean these out if you're using a brand new diff, even if you're using a used diff. Clean it out, redo the filter, and don't use old hoses, especially ones with clamps on them. This came like this, so that was bound to happen. Alright, so it's another day. It got a bit busy, that happens. But we're gonna put the cover on, put the filter in, put the cover on, put the diff in, put it all back together, get it all done today while I'm wearing this blue shirt, hopefully. So let's get to it. But before we cork her up, let's take a look at how clean the inside of this is, because we'll probably never see another one this clean again. Wow, just look at it. I mean, it is brand new, it makes sense, but it's just so clean, everything's so perfect. And just so you know, this is actually spring-loaded, so if you're putting the cover on and it doesn't seat right the first time, you just need to torque her down and you'll be okay. But, wow, that is a thing of beauty. Alright, let's get her together. That's enough oogling over it. Okay, so what I'm doing at this point is I'm taking them all and I'm snugging them all down. So the entire... Ooh, well, I guess I'm throwing my ratchet into a pan of Haldex fluid. Yeah, that's fun. So I'm taking them all and I'm snugging them all down so this all sits flat. And that's kind of step one in the process. Then after you do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and actually torque them to spec. But you want to make sure everything is snug first and flat. And I'm doing this in kind of a crisscross pattern. Sorry, the heater's kicking in. So that way, nothing has too much torque on it at one time and the whole panel seats correctly. And do not forget to do the center. Okay, now this doesn't take a lot. 5.7 newton meters, 4.2 foot-pounds. I'll figure it out, that is in inch-pounds. I'll put it on the screen. But for me, I have, you can't really see that, newton meters and inch-pounds on this 3/8 that I'm using. All right, set for 5.7 newton meters, so let's go around in a circle. Now once I go around in the circle once, or do the X pattern once, sorry, what I do is I go around in a complete circle the next time around and get the center one last. Alright, so this is done, sealed, ready to go back in. We can take her, hoist her up. I'm going to actually wipe it down a little bit first. Put her underneath the put her underneath the 9.4 and we're going to get this back in place. Alright, so let's just pull these caps off. And these are just to make sure nothing got in the differential during transport. And, I mean, here, they got a little bit of grease on them to make sure that the seals didn't get damaged or anything with them in there. Then we'll slide this underneath and get everything back together.
Alright, at this point it's probably just going to be a big time lapse of putting this back together because there shouldn't be anything that interesting. It's just the reverse of taking it apart. So if something comes up, I will stop and explain what's going on, but until then, here goes the time lapse. Okay, since it's impossible to actually get the camera underneath the 9.4, what I'm going to do for the moment is I'm going to actually just kind of wrench on it until I get to a point where the differential's like almost in, and then we'll pick back up there. Okay, so we had to take a quick turn here. Let me just show you what happened. So I couldn't get either axle in the differential, and I ended up taking the passenger side wheel off, but now both the axles are in. But I had to grab the air hammer and just let her rip. And also, since I'm using a different hose now, I've learned that I think I got a lot of air in my tank. So I'm going to have to drain that all out. However, let's just get underneath here because this is the hard part to see. Otherwise, I'm sorry about that. I really need to pick up another GoPro, but I just haven't yet. So, axle's seated, axle is seated, then I can get this lined up, put the drive shaft back on, put these 4 bolts back in, put the e-brake thing back up, and go from there. Because once this is all bolted in, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pull the drain and the fill plug because this had gear oil in it. If the gear oil looks anything like the Haldex fluid, it's going to be pretty nasty. So we're going to drain that, let that all come out. And while that's draining, I'm going to put driver's side suspension back together, which shouldn't actually be terrible because the biggest problem was getting that axle out, and I made sure to put the axle back in while the differential was down, which I guess is the trick. So I've learned something there. Now I am going to have to reprogram this Haldex module, so hopefully I'm going to cross my fingers, hope the MDI doesn't have a problem with that. But other than that, I'm not going to say we're home free because we're far from it at this moment, but we're doing pretty good this go-round. So let me just get everything lined up and kind of buttoned up under here, and then we'll come back to it. Sorry about the cutting in and out. Like I said, I just need to buy a GoPro. This is trying to film with this camcorder underneath here is really difficult. One thing I'm going to note since I'm about to attach the new, or I should say, attach the drive shaft to the new differential, always replace those bolts that, attach the differential, or attach the drive shaft to the differential. They're supposedly one-time use stretch bolts, so make sure you just order them. They're not expensive. All you need is 3 sets. So I'm going to get under there, put these, at least line these up, and then lift the differential into place. Okay, here's where we're at. Differential's bolted in and up. Electronic parking brake module is bolted in and up. What I need to do next is I need to put the driver's side suspension back together, because what I have to do to be able to rotate the drive shaft around, I have to be able to take the 9.4 out apart. To do that, I have to power it up. When I power it up, it may suck the e-brake cable back in because it may try and calibrate it. I want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to put the entire driver's side suspension back together, I'm going to put the Jeez, I'm not good at this. I'm going to put the driver's side suspension back together, passenger side suspension back together, Passenger side suspension's not apart. But put the axle nut back on, because I had to take that off to get the axle in. And then I'll be able to turn it on and then put that drive shaft all the way back in. And honestly, at that point, it's pretty much done. Well, other than doing fluids. So I'll do fluids after I do the drive shaft. Right now I have the gear oil draining, so I wanted to give that a little bit of time to drain, because just in case there was some condensation in there or whatever, just like the other fluids, I want to make sure that could drain. So fortunately I have extra gear fluid, or gear oil, which is right there. So fortunately I have that. So let's get this driver's side suspension back together. Alright, of course the heater kicks in when I turn the camera on, but entire suspension's back together, the brakes are back on, everything's good. I'm going to take it, I'm going to turn this on so I can put it in neutral, so I can turn the drive shaft, so that way I can put the other 4 drive shaft bolts in. Once I do that, all I have to do is program the Haldex module and put fluids in it, and then it should be good. So I'm pretty excited for this. We're in the home stretch. Let me get this going and we'll do it that way, and hopefully the heater is quiet in a few minutes. Alright, so next up I'm going to put in the gear oil and then fill the Haldex unit. If you are curious on how to do this for yourself, I actually have an entire video on how to do this service, so I'm not going to record it because that would be pretty boring to see again. The full Haldex service will be in the description, and I'll probably put a card above. So let me crank that out quick, and we'll keep rolling. Okay, so filled up with fluids. I'm actually not going to program the Haldex module. I'm just going to grab the old one off of the old differential, because it should just plug and play like it did on the NG95. It's 2 hex screws, not a big deal. Just take it off there, put it on there, should be good to go. So let me take those 2 hex screws out, and we will put it in the other diff. Alright, now I should be able to take this Haldex module, put it directly onto the brand new diff, and I'm actually just going to use the seal off the new diff as well. The good part is there's no fluid in this side, so all the fluid that we just filled up won't be a problem. I am going to spray these connectors down with a little bit of contact cleaner to make sure we don't have any issues though. So let me do that quick, then I'll pop this in. Alright, so I flip-flopped the old Haldex module onto the new differential. What that's going to do is make it so I don't have to marry anything, and it's more of just kind of a plug-and-play ordeal. That way I don't have any problems, just in case the module doesn't want to marry for some reason. I've heard of people having issues with that, which is why on the NG95, I just swapped the module, and on this I just swapped the module. I was going to try and marry it, decided not to, figured I'd make it easier. So all I have left is to torque the axles, add the wheels, take it for test drive. So let's do it. Alright, and it's ready for the wheels up test to see if Haldex is working. Hard to cross these fingers with these gloves on, but I'm crossing my fingers. Okay, let me give a quick note here. It needs a flex pipe, so it's going to be a little bit loud when it first starts up and while it's running. Plus I have the air compressor draining in the background, so it's going to be a little loud, just FYI. Alright, so wheels spinning is a good start. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean that Haldex is fine, so we need to take it out for a drive to see if it's actually okay. And I need to shut off the 9.4 because, you know, in the shop. Alright, so the 9.4X, the diff is in, it works. It did air out once and I had to refill it with Haldex fluid, but it seems to be fine now. I took it for about a 30-mile drive after that, and it didn't air out again. So that's a very, very good sign. Now there is a bit more work I need to do on that, but I'm going to pause that for a second because in the upcoming episodes, I'm going to have to do some work on my wife's 9.3 Combi. So, sorry that this wasn't more of like a tutorial. This is more of just a, here is some work on a 9.4X, and if you have questions, comment below. I will answer what I can. Swapping the differential is not that hard though, fortunately. I honestly think even though it was like multiple days, I think I only had about 5.5, maybe 6 hours invested in it, start to finish. I just had so many things come up and so much stuff to do that kind of took me away from it. So anyways, thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and Saab on, folks.